we started with the perfect car. No? At least we didn't have rust repair to do. I don't know, it's easier.
Right. I think the main problem here was that we should have started with a roadster. It would have been a lot easier to make a rusty roadster finished car in 6 weeks than it would be to make a coupester in 6 weeks. But that's just my 2 cents. And it curves down.
That's what I mean.
Flat.
A 36 coupsters, weren't they that way?
Yeah. It's just going to need more time and more people on the car. That's all it's going to come down to, but nothing we can do now.
No. Sad to see him go because he's a guy that I really respect. Immense amount of knowledge and skill. It's going to be a difficult person to replace.
And he turns to him. The only one that doesn't is Roy.
When I first started here, Al was probably one of the best people we had here as far as teaching, showing you the right way to do things. So it upsets me a lot that Al is leaving.
Hey, what's up, guys? I thought I'd come on today and talk a little bit about some stuff. I was on a live Google Hangout with a guy named Mangus, and we were talking about some stuff, and there was some stuff that I brought up that I've been wanting to do a video on for a while, but I just thought I'd go through and bring it up a little bit. I don't see a problem with guys bothering to like bitch at other guys in a work situation, but the problem that I kind of have is that a lot of times you end up with guys trying to sabotage other guys, which like if there's some guy that knows what he's doing, he's very knowledgeable, he's been doing some job for 40 years, they don't want to be fired, but they don't understand that your knowledge is, you have such a wealth of knowledge that they're not going to fire you. They just would like you to pass that knowledge on to somebody else, and what they'll do is they'll pass on a little bit of it, but not give you everything. And then if that person dies, a lot of that knowledge that they've accrued and how to work with some tools that may not exist anymore or things like that will die with that person. And it's done that way because they're arrogant, because they think they don't want to lose their job, they don't want to show anybody their cards, they don't want to tell anybody what's going on, and because of that we lose men every day, and we lose their knowledge and their ability to teach somebody else how to do what they do is ruining the men's culture. The things that men can accomplish, and like tools that the way it was done in the in the 50s and 40s and stuff. There's these men that do that, but there's also men now that learned from guys like that, and they too are smart alecks and think that when somebody asks them, they try to make it a real struggle to get ahead, and it works against us as men. That's some straight up feminist bullshit. That's some bullshit that men shouldn't be doing. Now I can understand if you have like a white knight mangina simp, prick, I wouldn't want to teach him anything either. But when you have somebody who's willing to learn, that wants to know how to do something you're doing, and he's not just some jackass and asshole, and you can't have a bias to think that they're all like that. If you find some guy that's really interested in doing it, why would you make it harder for him to learn something that he might be able to excel at, and you might be able to teach him, and someday he can pass that knowledge on when you're gone. Maybe he's 20 years younger than you, and when you're 80, he'll be in his 60s or 70s, or 60s, and he'll have passed that knowledge on to somebody else who's in their 20s, and then your knowledge lives on when you're dead, and it can continue on, instead of taking it to the grave with you, which is what a lot of guys tend to want to do. and I don't understand why there's men out there who purposely try to sabotage other men. You know, the mocking of other men is something that I find troubling in general, but I find it a lot also in the manosphere, in the MGTOW industry. You know, there's a lot of guys who, first of all, they think their opinion is all that matters. They have this idea. It comes from arrogance and just I feel kind of stupidity, but a lot of men have this idea that they're the center of the universe, and they think that their ideas matter to everybody, and that no matter what you think, you should listen to what I have to say, because what I have to say is way more important than anything you have to say. And this is a common problem that I find with a lot of Americans, which is why a lot of Japanese people don't want to deal with Americans, is because Americans find it very hard to listen. They won't open their ears and listen, because while you'll make some statement and then you'll explain your statement, but while you're explaining, right after you made that statement, the person is thinking in their head what they're going to say to retort what you just said to make you look like an idiot. You know, basically that's their whole thing. They're not listening to you. They don't care what you had to say. They don't care how you explained it. They just want to explain that you're wrong, you know. And that idea, that thought process is stupid. You know, it's a very dumb way of being in life, and it's a very harmful way for other men. You should be trying to affect men, and especially if you're MGTOW, you should be trying to affect men in your field of expertise, and in your general life. You should be trying to uplift men, not tear them down. You know, we're not in the military. Your job is not to be a drill sergeant. But I've found a lot of jobs that I've worked on are like this. They have these men who've worked in the shop for 10 years. They know where tools are, they know where everything is, they know what's expected of them. And instead of trying to help you see that, they fuck with you and make you feel like you're an idiot because you don't know what they know. But, you know, if you were there 10 years, you'd know everything that they know. And the fact is, because they've been there for 10 years and they know a lot of stuff, they can help you get to where the boss really digs you, so that you can have a job and you can stay on there and you guys can become friends. Instead, they work against each other, they fight, and then you end up leaving the job. And this is a problem that I have from the standpoint that I've had my own companies for most of my life. And I've hired a lot of guys. And friendship is one thing, and my work is another. And I have no qualms with firing a friend, just because it's not worth my time to hire somebody and to pay to train them, to go later and have to have those people quit or have them get fired because my friend is an asshole in the shop and is going around barking orders at everybody and making everybody's life hell. And because of that, the person quits. So now I have to find somebody else, which is already hard enough to do. Once you've found somebody, that's a really hard thing to do, especially in my line of work. Then you have to go find somebody, and then you have to train those people again. And then you have to hope that this friend, who's the shop foreman, will not get those people to leave as well, because then you'll have to do it all over again. And this is a common problem they have in a shop. In most countries and in most all over in the United States, there's some asshole in the shop, thinks he knows everything, doesn't want to help anybody, and his only job, he thinks, because he watched episodes of the Orange County Chopper, thinks his job is to be like Paul Sr. and just to fucking yell and bark orders and throw shit and make a general ass of himself. And then because of that, everybody in the shop is scared of him and doesn't want to really have anything to do with him. And because they feel that way, it doesn't matter what he says, even if it's right, they're not going to listen to him, and they're not going to take his advice, and they're going to end up quitting and leaving. And they're not going to be productive members of the team while they're there, because they're not going to want to do anything that that guy has to say because he's an asshole. And then when they leave, I'm going to have to find somebody else to come in there and work with this asshole in the shop. And this is a common problem that you'll find. And I don't understand why, as a man, you would want to do this to other men. Why do you want to make it harder for a man to... It's already hard enough for us as men to succeed and to have a life and to get to a point where we could maybe retire. By you making it even harder for them to do that, harder for them to live, harder for them to learn, harder for them to pay their bills, to pay their car payment, to live and pay for tools from Snap-on, and make it harder for them to do everything they have to do in the shop, is stupid. There's no reason for it. The only reason that you can give for it is arrogance and stupidity. You're just an arrogant, selfish prick, you know? And that shit pisses me off. I've seen it so many times in my shops, and I can't stand those guys that are like that. There's no reason for you to be like that. If you have knowledge to impart to somebody that can help them in their career of choice, especially like in my job, I was a mechanic and an auto body man and a painter. And my job is to impart knowledge that I've learned over the past 40 years of working on cars. You know, well, not 40 years, about 35. But my knowledge in what I do, I want to impart to other people so that I can teach them things that will allow them to not make mistakes that I made when I first started out, so that people become smarter in their job and not stagnant and stupid, so that I can make fun of them, you know? Because things that I did when I first started out and everybody made fun of me, I know what I was made fun of for, and I can impart that knowledge to the new person working on the shop floor. I can say, look, when I first started out, I did this. If you do that, a lot of the other guys think it's stupid. You know, I'll think it's kind of dumb too, even though I did it when I was first starting out. So just don't do that. Simple as that. Now they won't do it. Now they already know. That's all you have to do. Impart some fucking knowledge to these younger kids that are growing up, so they know what the fuck they're doing, and they won't be idiots and making stupid choices and mistakes in a shop or in a work environment, so that you have something to make fun of, because it's just stupid. And that's a very arrogant way to be about
Shop's
life.
really going to suffer after losing Al, because Al pretty much knows it all and has done it all when it comes to hot rods.
A little bit of a spacer in there.
My advice for young MGTOW workers is, make sure, this is something that's happened to me, and I'll impart this knowledge to you guys. Make sure that you always are saving your money. Don't waste a bunch of money on a lot of crap that's not going to benefit you. And do not tell your boss a lot of information about your personal life, because what they tend to do is they get you in this thing, like I was just talking about with the person that's their best friend or somebody that's worked in their shop for 15 years. He's basically got the boss by the balls, because he can't find anybody else that's going to have that much knowledge. So he's not really going to fire him unless he killed somebody in the shop, you know. So the fact that this guy is in the shop, he can do almost whatever he wants. And what'll happen is, they'll force you to stay at this job by getting you into a position, which is why a lot of companies, you'll notice, will like pay you once a month. And they'll have you come to work for a whole month, and you don't have much money, so you might have to be borrowing money. Maybe you're going to the check cashier place and getting a payday loan, you know, that kind of thing. And they get you on the ropes from the beginning, so that they can basically get you to the point where if you quit their job, you'll be close to destitute. And they know that. And because of that, you'll put up with whatever they give you, because you have no choice in the matter. Well, the fact is, if you get yourself in a position where you can have some money saved in the bank, to where if you do have to quit, you can leave, and you don't lead on, don't get into positions like some of the guys will, where the boss will say, like, hey, what's up with your car? You know, you're having a lot of problems with it. You want to buy another car? And then they'll ask you like little things like, what kind of car do you want? You know, that kind of thing. And you'll tell them like, oh, I'd love to have a new Camaro and blah blah blah. And you know, I went and looked at one a couple of months ago, and I found out this much, it costs this much, and the insurance is this much. And they'll figure all that shit out in their head. They're businessmen. They know what the fuck they're doing, and they will actually calculate how much money you need to survive, and they'll keep you on the edge right there. They'll know that's what you want to do with your life. You just, all you'd like to do is buy that car, and all you need is this much money. So they'll give you just enough money to survive, and enough money to where you're almost getting it every month, but not enough to where you're going to actually make that goal, so that they can keep you in a perpetual state of a dreamhood until you lose that. And once you lose that and you finally say, I'm never going to have this, it's never going to happen, not working here, then they might raise your wages just enough so that maybe you can get that car, but you'll be struggling really hard, and then eventually you'll end up having to sell that car, or you'll quit. You know, you'll quit or you'll get fired, because you'll just become so disillusioned with the job that you'll stop. You know, and this is another thing that I'll tell to the people who are hiring them: you're an idiot, you're a fucking idiot, you're an asshole, and that kind of shit needs to stop, because you're sabotaging men. And if you're a MGTOW, or if you have the idea that you want equality in the sexes, that's not equal, and that's stupid. You shouldn't be like this, and you shouldn't be treating other men like this, because you're sabotaging men and sabotaging men's lives. This whole thing of like, I don't want to hire somebody because they don't have the skills that they need. Did you ever have the skills when you first learned? When you were their age, did you have those skills? No. Where do you think you learned those skills? You learned those skills because somebody gave you the opportunity to work and learn. And that's your duty, because that's where you got it from. Your duty is to teach someone else what you learned. As a worker in the American environment or Japanese environment, Russia, wherever the fuck you're from, your duty is to teach your fellow man the skills they need to succeed at the job that they're at. If you are trying to stifle their creativity and stifle what they're going to do for their livelihood, then you're an idiot, and you're an asshole, and you're not a MGTOW. You're not trying to help men. And if you are a white knight mangina simp, you're also not a good person, because you're trying to stifle men, and you're trying to make it unequal in the work environment. And if you're one of these fucking assholes that goes and tries to make other guys' lives a living hell, and sits there and bitches about guys behind their back and treats them like shit and makes them feel like shit because they did something wrong, then you're a fucking asshole too. So I thought I'd come on and talk about that. Leave your comments and questions in the section below. I'm sure we'll have some comments from other MGTOWs. I'm also doing a Google Hangout, a live Google Hangout on Saturday. It's Saturday, 10 o'clock my time, but in the US it'll be around 8 o'clock in the morning, between like 8 and 10 or something like that, depending on where you are in America. So yeah, if you guys want to get on and discuss some MGTOW subjects, you're welcome to. It's called the MGTOW Round Table. So I just thought I'd throw that out there as well. If you like this video, share, like, and subscribe it, and check out all my links in the section below, and have a nice day.